All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. Kind of a gloomy day in Los Angeles, and unfortunately, kind of a gloomy sector all of a sudden, all right? The amount of bullishness that I had in all of the weed stocks, I mean, it lasted a good while, but again, I always say it. When a stock gives me signals to start getting worried, you know I start getting worried. And losing the 8 and the 20 is a real big one, but I'll tell you this. I am shocked. I am shocked that we're below this right now. All right, and that's really what I'm going to be talking about. Yeah, it's crazy what's happened in this sector. All right, and end of the day, I know a lot of people have a lot of long-term expectations, right? There's reason to believe, like Leisha, if I'm not mistaken, said that the first part of the SAFE Act was approved. We're now going to go into the next phase where it's either the House or the Senate. I don't really know the order, I'll be real honest with you. But look, nonetheless, there are long-term things I think most of us are, I gotta use the word assuming because that's all we're really doing. But yeah, even me, I am assuming that weed will one day be like federally night and day, right? And hey, these $2 numbers might not matter in a while, but I'll be honest with you. I thought that back in like 2016, 2017, and look at where we're at in 2023, right? So again, I use the word assumption for a reason, all right? But in general, these are all looking pretty bad. I would say high tide's probably still looking the strongest, just again, given what the moving averages look like. But we'll look at everything and more shortly. But before we go any further, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can please subscribe to the channel, share this video online with your friends, comment good or bad. Look, anything you can do helps me so much with these YouTube algorithms, but I swear, just being here, giving me your time, oh man, I can't appreciate anything else, all right? So I know, I can't expect anything else. I appreciate so much more. Sorry about that. And then again, the Discord links are in the chat on the YouTube comments. You have the chart readers one as well as the MEM analysis group where there's 8 of us giving our opinions. All right, so let's get into it. All right, and look, the moving averages are computer generated lines that help me put my emotions, my bias to the side. All right, when I see a stock start going over the 8 moving average, start breaking line after line after line, actually finding itself over all the moving averages and actually still going up for 2 weeks, my expectation really is, honestly, like I am shocked we didn't come up to 4. All right, I am. And I mentioned it on the last video, okay? And I really think a lot of people put weed stocks in its own world, all right? End of the day, all right? End of the day, SPX, this is the Standard & Poor's 500, the S&P 500. S&P 500's made a really bad drop for the most of September. You can see 11th onward was bad. What did we sorry, I think too many, yeah, pudgy fingers. TLRY, Tilray. 11th all the way down. All right, I'm going to show the Dow Jones as well. Dow 30, Dow Jones Industrial. Look at it from the 11th down here. All right, I don't show NASDAQ when I'm doing the weed stock reviews because again, we're literally talking about farming and selling, right? Like this is sold in a store. This is not even sold online anywhere, right? Like this is as basic and bare bone as a farmer growing his or her crops, taking it to the store and, you know, buying it like that, right? So S&P 500 and Dow Jones is all I need to look at when I look at these sectors. And I'm telling you, if those are going down between the 11th and now, that's why these are going down as well, because I say it so many times. There is no individual stock that's better than the major markets. All right, don't get me wrong. There are definitely stocks making 80% on any given day. Like we see it, right? There are a number of ones that we're still trying to chase in a bad market. But in general, like these are tough times, and you can see it reflected here. All right, so I want to stress that I sincerely believe if we were in a different market condition, we would have flown from 3 to 4. Red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 red, red. Like this is a wildly fast channel. We made moments in it, couldn't confirm. Made moments in it, couldn't confirm. Like it is what it is, all right? And it's a really, really big moment of like just you're gonna hear a lot of people say like, you know, I'm above the fear, and like, you know, I buy when others are scared, and this, like, listen, doing nothing sometimes is the best thing to do in this kind of condition, all right? And that is just kind of the, and also just, I don't know what's going on right now. I barely watch the news in general, all right? By this time in 12 hours at 12, no, because I live on Eastern Standard Time, so at 9:01 my time, in less than 9 hours, in 8 hours and 50 something minutes, we will know if the government's shutting down or not. For all I know, that's been announced already too. Like, I really have no idea. I can't stress that, all right? I'll find out. I'll know by Sunday before trading starts, right? But if the government shuts down, dude, even these it's gonna have a ripple effect that, like, you're gonna think to yourself, why does it matter for weed stocks? These are already federally illegal. Who cares if the government's closed, right? Or you're even gonna say, dude, these are like Canadian stocks. Why do we even care about the U.S.? Like, it's a ripple effect in the market. It's the same reasons. It's the same reasons I'm flashing SPX and showing you, look, S&P 500's going down the same time that Dow Jones is going down. This is a ripple effect. The market is starting to do weird things, all right? So I think that was a lot of non-weed talk for a weed sector review, all right? But what's happening with Tilly? Tilly has now lost the 8 and the 20. Tilly is not even going at, like, normally I talk about the oscillations on a line. You can actually kind of see a long-term oscillation on the 200, right? We go up, we come down. We go up, we come down. You know, like that's all oscillating means, right? Just making that kind of like snake-like move, right? What I don't like is what should have been an oscillation up right there was actually blocked by the 8 moving average. We made a good move, couldn't confirm. We try to make a good move, stay down here, and again, we keep staying under, right? So like the 8 moving average, this green line, the line that was our friend that rode us up here, and then again, right? Like, it's now the line that's keeping us down. And don't forget, like, this line has been a bad line for a long time, all right? So just, we are not on the better side of the moving averages. We're actually below 4 of the 5, all right? Like, there's concerns. And again, you hear me say it, it's hard to break 1, let alone 2, let alone 3, this tight of a cluster. All right, that's a pretty tight cluster right there. You know what I mean? And again, the 200's a hard one, the 50's a hard one. End of the day, I think nothing's really going to matter unless we can get over 275. I would actually I think 276, 277 is the number. That's where I think we'll start to hopefully start making that climb back up. Oh, this is post-market. I just realized that. Good, nothing really changed. My apologies. I'm glad I just started talking about this. I would have realized it earlier if I was talking about the charts, I think. That said, yeah, still below the 4. And what I don't like, you know, I was eventually going to talk about it, right? Like, this is a textbook doji. All right, what's a doji? Let's look at the box over there. We open at 2.39. We close at 2.39. Literally the entire day, we didn't even move up a penny or down a penny. However, some people thought we were going to go maybe close to the 8. Most people actually thought, no, we're going to drop and probably head here. End of the day, they said, you know what? Let's just wait and see what Monday tells us. Doji screams uncertainty. The day after the doji, on this case Monday, generally tells the truth, all right? And what am I looking for? We need to either come to 250, we need to basically regain hopefully 2 of the 3 of these, Otherwise, we're kind of headed down to the blue line, which as it sits right now is under 2, right? Under 225. It's 220. You can see in the box over there, it's sitting at 220, right? So, yeah, I think those are I think we're either going to come up to 250 or drop to 225 on Monday. All right. And one more time, just it's crazy that we didn't fly. It's crazy that one of the 3 branches sounds like they have passed the SAFE Act. And I like, give me a second. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to bring up the comment. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Again, you know I appreciate when you guys share the fundamental news and I share the technical stuff, right? But you can see Leisha right here. And what I really liked was this. I remember that it's not like the approval, what's that number, 15? It's not like the approval was 8-7, right? 9-6, nah. It was... No, it was not 15. It was 25. You get the numbers I'm trying to do. It's not like it was like close to 50-50. This is a pretty nicely one-sided ruling. It's, what is that? 5-3 is essentially what that is. Trying to make up for my bad math earlier, doing some ratio math there. But look, we've now gone through one. The House is what's next, and you know, we gotta see, right? And again, though this is big for American, I'm telling you, it's big for the sector, all right? And again, it should have done more. The markets are what holding it down. And listen, what happens with the government shutdown might ultimately affect what happens here, all right? If there's no shutdown, the markets should recover. That should take us back over this and really take us back on that trajectory, okay? Otherwise, the one victory from all of this, all right, just even if it falls, I'm gonna at least put a positive spin on this. Look, the 200 moving average used to be this like impossibility that was just nothing. All right, we were way below it, right? And what ends up happening is we test it, we retest it, and even if we don't retest it here, this was a break and a go, right? So like we went from literally only touching it once without even a good confirmation, once in more than 2 years, right? Because this was July 21, this was July 23, only touched it once, all right? Since then, we've been messing with the 200 a lot, all right? And you know I always talk about that Jenga piece. You can only pull a block so many times from a little area before the thing's gonna collapse. And yeah, we want the 200 to collapse, all right? Even if we fail it now, even if we fall below this and come back down here, I hope it doesn't happen. But even if we do, I have more confidence in, hey, the 200 could go down given better market conditions, all right? So, let me know what you think. And again, I realize I talked less about the Tilray charts than you know I normally do, but I think what's going on matters way more than the charts specifically themselves. I'm barely looking at the weekly, all right? But yeah, this thing's kind of signaling we might come as low as 215 here, right? Because we've lost this, we've doji this. We're either going to come up to 270 or 215, 216. Again, I gave 250, 225 over here, right? So, and look, that 215 is pretty much, it's actually unfortunately a little bit below it, right? So, Tilray, I think there's more to be worried than anything, and it's less to do with Tilray and more to do with what's going on behind it, all right? Okay, CGC, listen, I literally went on like a 10-minute rant of like what's going on. So I'm going to repeat myself a little bit, but not to the detail that I did in Tilray. I know some people fast forward, right? Because I put the chapters and you can kind of look at whatever ticker you want. I do recommend going to the Tilray part, all right? But right now the markets are not doing well. Okay, what looked like it should have been a break and a continue and like, you know, good things should have happened against the 200. It instead didn't. And honestly, in my opinion, it has less to do with the stock itself and more, look, I mean, bad downtrend on SP 500, bad downtrend on Dow Jones Industrial. What are you going to expect on CGC? A bad downtrend, all right? And in a lot of ways, this one wasn't as bad as those two actually were. I felt like those two were a little steeper on their drop, all right? But you can see it. We literally had this drawn last time. All I'm doing is extending it, right? I'm still keeping it in that corner. And yeah, we're now below the uptrend. We're still below the 8 moving average. We're obviously still below the 20 moving average. There's a lot of reason to believe CGC is coming down here to 67, right? This thing's kind of staying where it is. This one's coming up. They seem like they're going to want to meet just about there on Monday, right? So I wouldn't be surprised. And man, that's sad because you're dropping a dime on a stock that only has 8 dimes, right? I'll be honest, I don't know what 1/8 is. I can't think of that percentage on the top of my head, but no one wants to lose an eighth, right? Like, you want to do other things with eighths when you're talking about this sector, right? So, like, just, I hope you enjoyed that joke. I loved saying that. That wasn't rehearsed. I had to stop right there. I laugh at my own joke. If there's one thing I wish more people laughed at my dumb jokes on the Discord. That I have to say that, all right? But yes, back to this. It really does seem like this is where we're headed here. And again, I think it has so little to do with CGC. I think it has so little to do with what's going on with the sector and like the approval of the SAFE Act, at least in one of the 3 branches, right? Like there was a lot of reason to get a little excited here. All of a sudden, it's just a bad market. And listen, there is a potential for a government shutdown, all right? And if the government shutdown does happen, I'm telling you, there are going to be very few stocks that do well in those times, all right? So I know a lot of people like to say, like, I'm not afraid of the fear, and like, when there's blood on the streets, there's money in the pockets. Like, dude, I've heard it all right? I promise you, literally doing nothing, like, death by 1,000 cuts messed me up personally. I'll tell you that right now, all right? Because, like, this right here, this single day was 15%. This next day was 9%. This next day was another, like, this thing goes from $1.23 all the way down to this, to 75 in literally 4 days. That's not even a death by 1,000 cuts. That's a crazy, crazy drop, right? And, I'm not even talking about green, red. Like, I'm just talking about the, like, bad things happen in bad markets. It's why we say some markets are bearish and some are bullish. You know what I mean? And just be careful, all right? And remember, even if a stock drops some like amazing news, it will be overshadowed by a bad market, all right? It is what it is, all right? So again, kind of like Tilray, I'm not talking about the CGC like charts too much, right? Like, yeah, we're under them, we're under these. I mean, I know I'm not even talking about MACD and RSI. I've barely mentioned volume. Like, this is all about what's happening around us, not what's happening specifically with these 3 tickers or these 3 letters. You know what I mean? So just be careful and remember, the good news that brought us here ended at the same time the 2 markets I showed you started to go down. Literally from the 11th onward, they started going down. Literally from the 11th onward, I'm not even pretending. This is as red to green as I would. Like, there's nothing in that channel. Like, the fact that it didn't go to 220 is shocking. There's actually no other word for it. It is shocking. All right. But at this point, I'm telling you, I barely think we're going to get over the 20 moving average at 98 cents. I'm like still wondering if we'll even take that 50% candle. I doubt we'll even take that. I think 94 cents is as high as this thing's going to come immediately. I do, and that's so sad to say, but it really is more. If the government shutdown doesn't happen, ignore all that. All right, so that's my CGC. Let's come to ACB real quick. That's ABC. 1, 2, 3. Here's an end. Okay, ACB, man. I've said it so many times. All right. Oh, I got to delete some lines. We got a lot of lines here. Yeah, it's kind of overkill. I guess it looks a little better if I space it out. Whatever. I've always said on ACB, once this stock runs, the sector will like. It'll rain money, okay? Because all I've seen is nothing but bad here, all right? And I always talk about the sector strength when the sector can help. Arguably, look, I'm not here to hate on these 3 little letters right here, all right? I know there was a lot of joy and love and a lot of people came out of the ACB closet, right? Like, look, This is arguably one of the lower ones in the sector, right, in terms of ranking and all that. I'm not even talking about fundamentally. I have no idea what the company's like numbers look like, you know, the distribution, the this, the that, right? I'm just talking about the charts. When the sector strength is strong enough to raise the worst one, you can only imagine what it's going to do for the rest, right? So that's always why I talk about ACB, and like once this thing runs, it's over. The immediate fall, like this fall, actually doesn't, oh man, it's crazy. That doesn't even look that different from, it's a little bit less, I guess, here. Tilray and ACB have what look like the same slope of down. Maybe this one's a little worse. Obviously, I'll talk about the moving averages, right? But like in terms, I'm trying not to click the line. In terms of the downtrend, like that's a steep drop, all right? And it just goes back to once the sector strength is over, the one that was the worst is going to come back to the worst, right? And this one's really, really close to going back below all 5 moving averages. The 8 moving average literally just did a double death cross on a single day. That's actually not something I think I've ever said on a video. Literally, on this day right here, it wasn't. On this day's end, we go below the 20 and the 200 on a single day. We double death cross. That's horrible. Right? Like this ain't that double rainbow that made that one dude viral, right? And brought us all happiness and joy. Like that's a double death, right? So that ain't good. Again, I'm going to echo the same things that I've been saying. And it's funny because this one actually did a little better for a little bit longer comparatively, right? But SPX, the SP 500, this thing, it stays flat, I would at least say. But yeah, basically just starts tanking right there, right? DJ 30 basically starts tanking, same thing, right? So ACB, you can only, this thing stayed flat, good for it, but then starts tanking, right? So yeah, at this point, it just really seems like this is about to lose the last moving average and go back down. And really the sad thing here is we're probably talking about going back down to 40. Damn, I got to delete. I'm not going to delete those. Let's keep some optimism here. But I got to draw 45, 46. If we lose that, I'm not even going to draw one on the bottom of this. If we lose that, we're going back into all-time lows here. Yeah, rough. Again, government shutdown. That needs to not happen. That's the big thing here for sure. All right, ACB. Not too many thoughts. I'm really going to be echoing a lot of the things I said. All right, SNDL one more time. This one I've always said looks exactly like Tilray, and it kind of still is, right? Like that's SNDL right there. You know, I love calling it Sandal. Tilly right here. Look at Tilly right here. Pretty much same thing. That pop overall and then the drop sadly, right? SNDL, pop overall and then the drop sadly, right? So again, pretty much horizontal and down, just like we saw in the SPX and the Dow Jones. This one's holding up a little better. I will say that, right? It is at least only under these versus, you know, the other ones. This definitely is kind of telling me we want to come down here. All right, there's just, again, I'll at least talk about them here, but yeah, the MACD is definitely diverging the wrong way, right? We like divergence like this when the green is going away from the red, not green going down from the red, right? And again, divergence is just fancy word for the 2 lines going away, but they're going away the wrong way. This is doing the same thing, going away the wrong way, and again, just the ugliest of volumes, right? So SNDL, this thing is screaming 175. I think the entire chart flips upside down any other market condition. I really do believe the government shutdown doesn't happen. That could save a lot of this. At the minimum, maybe won't go below all 5, right? I'm not necessarily gonna like imply it'll start, you know, going up. Like we just need to stop the bleeding immediately. From there, we'll start talking about up, right? But literally every single stock that we've looked at is below the 8 and the 20. This one's not as bad, but bad things happen under the 8 and the 20, and when other stocks are signaling it, right, like it's hard to not expect the same thing here, right? Again, I'm not looking at the weekly because this is all about what happens, like I said, in a little bit less than 9 hours. 9 o'clock p.m. my time, that is 12 o'clock Eastern, which is now the start of Sunday, and we either have funding for October or October shuts down, right? So that is what we're basically looking for. Not HITI, we're looking for HITI. High tide. This, like I said, was the best of the bunch for a while. This was the complete opposite of the SP 500 and the Dow Jones. This is the only one that went up the week of the 18th to the 25th, excuse me. There were a couple that were able to maintain horizontal. This, in all honesty, went more up than horizontal. It just kind of ended it, right? But high tide crushed it. And one of the things that I kind of said was, look, this was the earnings doji. That's a bad reaction. The fact that we recovered, damn, I'm like shocked that this thing didn't, like, this started to make me believe that I think the market's going to start agreeing with all my views. I'm telling you, I say this every video, and I repeat it because in a little bit of a way it shocks me, and in a little bit of a way I'm inviting someone to kind of say, hey dude, I disagree with, but literally all the longs on high tide, all the retail, not even investors, the retail believers of this single stock that I for real would have never known if I was not doing these videos. Everyone's liked at least the last 3 or 4 earnings, right? So it seems like, and it seemed like the market was ready to agree. Unfortunately, the market's not doing well. And the fact that it did not too bad, really both weeks, right? Because this should have been down here like the other ones were, right? Like literally, I'm just going to flash them really quickly. Tilray, downhill since the 11th, all right? CGC, downhill since at least the 18th, all right? ACB, one more time, downhill since 18th, okay? One last one, SNDL, downhill since 18th, right? Like high tide, not only did the horizontal from the 11th, that some of them did, not all of them, it went up. And realistically, it didn't even come down that hard the week after, right? So this one has the most strength of the bunch, but end of the day, a bad market condition that's starting to change the strength of the sector does make me believe this thing's going to unfortunately follow with it, all right? Hopefully we never go below the 50, all right? That's a hard drop down. I'm not trying to downplay how bad of a drop that would be, but I'm hoping it's not that fast a drop. I'm hoping that the time it takes from here to here, maybe there's some hope that, you know, market conditions are changing. Maybe there's some hope that like government shutdown, this, right? Like otherwise we will lose the 50. We will come to this and then we might go below that, right? Like end of the day, even with 4 or 5 good earnings behind it, this is a little bit too small a stock to do better than the markets. But I'm watching this one. I can't pretend that high tide hasn't added some extra strength in my eyes. Not that it matters much, right? But I am looking at this thing differently because I remember the difficulties with breaking the 200. I do. And this break and hold and run, and like I said, especially between the 18th and 25, the stock is flashing its muscles, all right? Imagine having muscles when you're in a competition with weaker people. And to me, that was my like good market analogy right there, right? So this is close to 30 minutes. I think this was a pretty good video here. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Otherwise, you know it. Hey, thank you. Leisha, I will get you some US stock videos soon too, I promise, all right? Thank you.